Next up in chapter 8 of the phase, talking about primary skills, we'll be covering transmutation into animals. And so this is one I don't have too much experience with personally. Like typically the closest I'll get to it is sometimes when I'm flying, I don't so much feel like I'm a human or a person in flight. I'll feel more like a really big bird or something, where I'm not pumping my arms or my wings to actually, you know, power my flight, but I'll feel like I'm using similar aerodynamics as like a hawk or something would to control my flight. So if I want to, you know, plummet downwards, I'll like get really skinny to plummet down really quickly. Then if I want to go up and ascend, I feel like I use similar aerodynamics to control my flight and ascend upwards, or similar to like, you know, flying in like a squirrel suit or something like that. And then also, as I mentioned in the previous video, like when it's not an animal, but kind of similar, when I was like transmutating into the Hulk to try and super jump myself up into space, I didn't turn green or anything, but in that moment, I felt the power and the strength of, you know, what Hulk would potentially feel like as I was gaining that power to go ahead and super jump myself up into space. Anyway, he writes, one feels as if new parts of the brain activate that are responsible for the sensory perception of body parts that humans don't have. And he points out how, like, if you're transforming into a lizard, you could feel your tongue begin to be split and forked. Or if you transform into a wolf or something like that, you can have a heightened sense of smell. And then he lists several different techniques to go ahead and, you know, transmutate into animals. So the first one is transmutation upon separation, where this would be like in the very beginning of your OBE phase entrance or wild wake initiated lucid dream, right? Like right when you feel like you're separating from your stencil body, you try to transmutate into the animal right then and there. Now this is one that I wouldn't use that much just because I very rarely get the whole sensation of separating from my stencil. And like I very rarely also have the experience of being in my bedroom when I'm first entering into the phase or lucid dreaming state. Like typically I'll go from a hypnagogic imagery of some completely random dream scene, and then I'll just enter into that as opposed to being in my room. And then also included in that, because I'm already in this different dream environment, I've already separated from my stencil, which is why I don't really get that, you know, that experience of separation very often. The next one is dynamic transformation, and I imagine this is probably the one I would make use of most if I was trying to transmutate into like a bear or something, where you briskly imitate the movements of the target animal while taking on its external appearance. The next one is transmutation upon translocation, or like teleporting. So you can use some kind of dream teleportation technique, where say like you close your eyes or you spin or something like that, and then once entering into this new dream scene, you try to already have the transformation take place within that teleportation or dream scene moment. And then the last one, and this is really the main one, transmutation through intention. So simply intensify desire to take on one form or another. Ultimately, this is what all phases should strive for. For example, if a practitioner has decided to transform into a dragon, then he will concentrate his intention on that desire, and his bodily sensations will go into a state of flux and then stabilize once again once he has already transmutated. Knowing specific techniques is often unnecessary if you have a firm desire that you unhesitantly want to achieve no matter what. Any lack of confidence when performing the transmutation technique in the phase will always be evident in the final result. Meanwhile, lack of confidence indicates a certain level of self-analysis, which in turn is a symptom of insufficient concentration on the technique. That's why a total concentration on and putting one's all into a technique practically guarantees successful results. So that's some tips for you there. And until the next video, keep your transmutation techniques legit.